All right, Shalom, Israel, Shalom, Shalom, man. Right, peace and blessings to the 12 tribes scattered abroad. Want to give all honor and glory to the Most High God, Yahweh, when we do so in the name of His only begotten Son, Yahweh Shah. Also, shout out to the sister Miriam Bethany that anointed our King with the precious ointments before His burial. And also give another shout out to our ancestors that lost their lives, not willing to compromise, not willing to bow down, but willing to die rather than to sin against our God, man. So pray we always honor them and keep them in mind. So we are the hopeful elect, right? Coming at you on our Day of Atonement. I know the brother Denal did a mighty Day of Atonement class, the first part of the Day of Atonement class. So Lord willing, I can finish it out. But you got the brother Denal, got the brother Azriel, meaning God is my help, and the brother Isaiah, meaning God is my salvation. And also the brother Baruch, you may see him in the comments putting the scriptures up. So if anybody missed the scripture that we may have said in this lesson, just go in the comments and you scriptures in. But yeah, so you know, any brother want to talk about how they feeling right now, man, for the atonement, how it's been, you know. I know this it's different than any other day that we keep. It's a
So,
day.
like, you want me to play the blowing of the shofar?
Oh yeah, my bad. Yeah, you can play that first. You can play that first. Oh, I forgot. Uh, all praise to the Most High for the mighty blowing of the shofar. Yeah, man. Hope everybody atoning that's keeping it today. Hope everybody getting some sins blotted out, confessing some things to the Most High. That's what it's all about. All about confessing to the Most High, resting. Resting, no work. Hope everybody resting and just getting your mind right. Getting your mind right. So, any brother want to say something before we get into the lesson? How brothers feeling, man?
Shalom, man. Shalom, man. Hey, look, man. It's been a mighty day, man. Some of my prayers as I'm praying, man, the Most High is just giving me things to kind of repent for, things I don't even think about, man. That's why it's important that when you don't even know what to say or what to repent for, to just get in the posture, right, to let Him use you. And a lot of times, man, He'll bring back to your remembrance. He'll speak for you. Um, Physically how I'm feeling kind of good, man. I don't know, recently I've only been eating like once a day. If I'm at work or something like that on a normal basis, I might have some coffee, might have an energy drink and some water, but I really don't eat till I get home. So I think that kind of helps too. We talked about this earlier, and like I said, man, I don't know if it's cheating or not, but I did have those ginger shots before I started on last night. And so, man, I'm really not hungry, man, but I found ways to flick my body today, man. I went outside, basking in the sun a little bit, got some dirt from the ground, man. Rubbed it on myself, man. I found some ashes in my little fire pit, rubbed them on me, man. Prayed in the grass. I was one with my beast out there back there for a few hours. He's in there just sweating, man. But at the end of the day, man, the thick of it is pretty much through, right? I think we done fasted pretty much almost over 21 hours now. You know what I'm saying? If I'm not mistaken, I think we got 5 hours and 37 minutes left. You know what I'm saying? So, we're really in the fourth quarter right now. And it's been a wonderful day for me. One thing I also want to say too is that just sharing my experience. I forgot today was a big event at work, which was Family Agriculture Day. And me having the title that I have, it was important for me to be there. So my supervisor kind of called me. He wasn't upset or nothing like that, but he was disappointed that I wasn't there, and he was, wanting me to call my guys because it's our job to set up a few things for the day, and get stuff rolling. So there's that. But again, that just adds to the anxiety and the affliction that we must go through. But other than that, man, it's been a mighty day.
I don't know if y'all can. Yeah, I was gonna say I don't know if y'all can hear that subtle noise in the background though, but that's been pretty much my day, man. Baby crying, children just finding anything to do to kind of like, I guess you could say make most of their time during this fast when they're not eating. So it's been a mighty day, man. I actually forgot I had to go do some stuff for work today too. No cap, because I was supposed to go get fingerprinted, and I totally forgot I had to do a fingerprint and take some tests. So, it's one of the things my supervisor called me to, and was pretty much, not necessarily mad, but kind of like trying to figure out what was going on and everything. But through the spirit, man, that just adds to the affliction, like the brother said. You know, we got to take care of our spirituality before anything, because at the end of the day, it's the Lord who gives us these opportunities. It's the Lord who chooses whether we live or die, and we can't atone for sins by sinning, So it's been a mighty day thus far. I'm honestly feel like I'm handling the DOA better than I have in times past myself too. I prayed a lot more than I can remember in times past today. I think I've read a lot more than I can remember on this day specific in times past. So, even progress, not only from, my children, but myself as well. I feel like it's been a mighty day because I can, like the brother said, sometimes when you don't even have the words to say, you just go get in that position, and the Lord will give you utterance, things to say, things that come to your heart and mind. So it's definitely been a day of, atoning, abiding, atoning in affliction. And I'm grateful for it. All praises. Unlike the brother at the bottom of the screen, I don't got a countdown clock to know how much time. But nonetheless, at the end of the day, if we had to go another 24 hours, I know that, through the spirit of the Most High, I know the brothers on the screen will be willing to handle it. So all praises for that, man.
Kind of, man, I want to say too, man, that just goes to show too, like for instance, we was commanded not to work on this day. I just speaking for myself personally, if I were to ignore that and I were to go in today, not even realizing what today was, man, I would have been working extra hard. I'm talking about lifting heavy stuff, moving things, transporting things. And then once we got there, I would have been tempted with all of the ice cream that we would have to make and all of the, we typically help people out on the grill and stuff like that, man. So, not saying that the brother would have fold, but you just putting yourself in positions to make you fold that you don't need to be in, man. So, it was of the Lord's will that I missed it anyway. You know what I'm saying? So all praise to the Most High for allowing me to miss it, for sure.
Yeah, man, I've been doing all right, man. You know what I'm saying? Family been doing all right. Didn't really sleep in for real. I woke up around like 9. Went in there in the room with my kids. I be trying to be on my wife about it, and I be trying to take heed to it too. And I try to tell her to prepare for this day with the kids all year, and that looks like you don't always have to ask your kids, "Are you hungry? You want something to eat?" Kids will let you know. They'll cry or they'll pull on your shirt or they'll pull on your pants leg when they're hungry. A lot of times we try to feed them. A lot of times they don't even eat it. They just playing around with their food. So, of course, when you ask them, a lot of times they might not even be hungry, but they're going to say, yeah, because they want something to snack on. But just practicing only feeding your kids when they're actually hungry, man, will kind of help for days like this, because it doesn't build their appetite to where they're always looking for something throughout the day. I think that's kind of helped us out. Um, my oldest, he said he's hungry a few times, but other than that, he's been in his own world. He's acting like he's well nourished, better than we are. My youngest, man, he had to cry himself to sleep, but he asleep though. You know what I'm saying? He's enduring. He may wake up in a second. I don't know. Me myself, man, I've been taking it pretty good. I ain't taking no shots or nothing. I ain't, I had a little convocation meal or whatever right beforehand. And I don't have no hole in my stomach per se, but the Most High God is afflicting me. Um, it's kind of like a mild headache that I got going on. That headache you get when you fast. Got that going on, so I'm still afflicted. Kind of like the brother said, man, I went outside, sat in a chair, faced the east for a while, meditating, had a lesson playing, and also just praying in my head for about an hour and some change or whatever. Let the sun beat on me a little bit. And then, just, praying at the high hours and stuff, trying to reflect on things as well. So, I've been enduring, we've been enduring. It's been a good Day of Atonement, man. If I could say something in humbleness, and if I could say something in honesty, I know for me, this has kind of been a year where I've kind of been praying to get that zeal back, man, that fire back, because you get to the point sometimes where you read pretty much all you can read. You've studied pretty much all the areas you could study. You get to the place where you've done so many lessons and that you've celebrated these feast days over and over and over again. You get to a place where you're not complacent, but you get to a place where you kind of feel like you're stagnant in growth. So one of the things I've been praying for is, to retain that zeal back that I once had, to learn again, right? To have new revelations, man, and to not feel stagnant and to not feel like I'm not growing anymore, right? So that's one of the prayers on me on today, as well as praying for the nation, man. I've been praying for the nation, the nation that doesn't obey the dietary law, the nation that is caught up in idolatry and paganism, the nation that doesn't obey the feast days, right? Our nation, I've been praying for us, man, so that the Most High God will continue to have mercy and wake up, brothers and sisters in our family and our friend circles, man, because it's not too late yet. So I've been meditating on that and praying on that as well. But other than that, man, brothers been, we've been making it, man. We've been enduring. All praises.
Kind, man. I'll praise to the Most High, yeah, man. I think, you made a good point. Not only just with kids, but with ourselves too. We want to make sure that we also, not eating as much, because we coming into some perilous times to where we're not going to be able to eat every day. You're not going to be able to just pick up your phone whenever time you want to and call Uber Eats and call DoorDash and they're going to deliver you the food, man. So it's good to start year round. Just don't eat as much. When you get hungry, or you may get the sweet tooth, don't just go and buy no apple pie from McDonald's. Make you a smoothie. Eat you some fruit. I had got to the point now with me, like, I get full.
Brother keep getting raptured up.
Right, brother Isaiah got raptured. Now he back. Now brother Obadiah raptured.
Man, had to, the phone was acting like it was on that, doing that, where you start skipping and sound weird stuff. So I had to fresh it. So another thing about affliction, man, Lord's will, man, when I'm able to, I'm definitely investing in stronger Wi-Fi connection, man, so brother can use a laptop without having to hook up, to the hotspot. Because even when I use the hotspot off my phone, and connect to the laptop, it really still ends up being like choppy. Still ends up being kind of, you know, to where as times throughout the lesson, I get kind of, I'm not sporadic, but I just start, you know, skipping and pausing.
You got to reset.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
y'all be
I
getting
think I think it's times
packages,
out,
man.
huh?
Y'all be getting the cheapest packages when it comes to
Nah,
Wi-Fi,
I know
man.
what you're talking about. I think it times out because when I was in Ohio and I was using my hotspot on the laptop, remember that lesson we did? I kept timing out too.
Yeah,
Like
it do time out. It do
it's
time
like it was like every like 20 or 30 minutes or some, or maybe 10 minutes, like
out. I
maybe
thought
6
like
minutes. Huh?
mine be timing out, but it'd be like every hour if I use mine.
Yeah, it
But
would
y'all
time
get
out.
Wi-Fi, man. Get that. You know you're gonna need that high speed. You know
I
what
ain't
I'm
gonna
saying?
lie. I had a Cox Wi-Fi. It's a guy that lives in my neighborhood. He parks his vehicle behind his house, and I was walking my dog, and I stopped by his vehicle. He looked at me crazy. It was a Jake. I said, "Yo, yo." He was like, "What's up?" He opened the door. I said, "Hey man, my Wi-Fi be going out too much for you to live in this neighborhood. You live right here, bro." He started laughing. But I was like, "Bro, Cox got to give, bro. What's going on?"
Brother was gonna say something about Wi-Fi. I had got a phone call. I knew
Oh,
brother Wi-Fi jokes about the Wi-Fi. Had got a phone call, and it kind of froze me up. I still see him face joking. I know they probably saying something about the Wi-Fi. But nah,
Nah,
man.
you thought you had got raptured up again.
Nah, man. Nah. Man, somebody had called me, man. I guess if you on your phone screen or somebody called, it kind of just in or I couldn't say nothing. Well, what I was saying, I kind of get full off just eating an apple, something like that. And I'm full, more than I'm full. That's how it's good to be like that. Just prepare yourself not only for the moment, but just to prepare yourself, just for the perilous time. So when you haven't ate 4 days or 5 days, good. Your body still you ain't been in it. And another thing too, it's just like I was telling my parents yesterday, they asked what the Day of Atonement was about, and I was telling them about the Day of Atonement, what it was about. And they asked what my daughter doing. Yeah. And then how grandparents is. I don't know if her little son do that yet. You ain't gonna give her no juice or nothing. So it's just amazing how society have just made us think as people. They made us you have to eat every day or you have to eat every hour. You have to have something in your body. But that's not good for your body though. With food and water every hour. It's good to fast. It's good to detox your body. But we've been taught it's been normalized to eat, eat, eat. You have to constantly eat. And if you ain't eating nothing, you doing a fast, a 24-hour fast, a lot of people look at that kind of weird, or it may kind of scare them a little bit because we've been taught that you gotta have food and water every single day. So it's good. It's good to be able to do this atonement, not only just because we know it's good for the body, but we doing it for the Most High. We doing this. We honored to be able to do the Day of Atonement. Like the world will look at us like we crazy for doing the Day of Atonement, 24-hour dry fast. The world will look at us crazy for that, but it's an honor for us to be able to do this, man. So all praise to the Most High that the brothers enduring, their households enduring, man, and just stay strong.
man, I know, like back in the day when I first started preaching about atonement, like on social media, I reflect on it because it lets me know how the world views fasting. Like you said, right? When I was preaching about atonement and stuff back in the day, I used to have people that wanted to, who were just coming into the knowledge of who they were, just like I was. And a lot of times they would DM me and be like, so we can't drink water or eat? Or is it
Right.
just one or the other? Or I don't know if I can do that. Maybe I can just do it for like half a day. Would that still count? I don't know. I haven't built myself up for this. I didn't know that this was a day in the Bible. I didn't know I was supposed to be preparing for this. I don't know if I can do it. And my zeal was so high at the time. I was just like, pretty much, the Lord's not dealing with half a day. I was like, the Lord's not dealing with that. It's written. Whether you're prepared or not, you got to do it. And it was a few people, man, that, after they did it, though, they were surprised that they could do it, and they were surprised that the Most High God brought them through it. And, they used that as a testimony to grow their faith, because they leaned on the Holy Spirit to help them do something that they couldn't do. And they really afflicted themselves. It wasn't something easy. And that's always a good reminder that this walk ain't easy, man. Sometimes the things that the Lord requires of us aren't easy, right? But that doesn't mean that it's grievous just because it's not easy, because we want to do these things to please the Lord. So it's not grievous for us to do these things, even if they are hard, right? But sometimes he does cause us and call us to do things that aren't easy, making decisions, leaving people, cutting certain habits off. Some things are not easy, but he calls us to do it for the betterment of our life and for our eternal salvation.
Yeah, and I was gonna say too that that's why I like Matthew 4:4 and Deuteronomy 8:3, man. Talking about man not living by bread alone, but by every word that proceedeth out of the mouth of Yahweh. Because at the end of the day, you know, the thing like you were saying, Obadiah, a lot of people don't fail to realize how powerful the Lord really made us to be. He gave us not a spirit of fear, but a power and a love and of a sound mind. So once we realize the strength that the Lord gave us, we really see how easy it is to overcome the simple inconveniences is hunger, you know, and that's easy to, and that's kind of ironic, me being a big brother saying that, it's easy to overcome hunger, but nonetheless, man, since I've been in the truth, and brothers, at least the two brothers at the top of the screen could attest, man, when we first started, laboring together during that year, man, we was fasting a lot, we was fasting every day, feel like almost, sometimes we was fasting even consecutive days, you know going on 3 days, going on 2 day fast, together as a body, and that really helped build up, you know I guess you could say, the understanding that I was able to overcome a lot of the, I guess you could say, challenges I had with my appetite. But not only that, man, especially for the Day of Atonement, uh, you see how easy it really is in the grand scheme of things once you've done fast for more than a day's time, what I'm saying, consecutively, because it's literally second nature. And the reason I know it's so easy, because like you say, by the time you start fasting in the evening with the Day of Atonement, you go to sleep, you wake up, you realize half that time is cutting short if you somebody that got a full night's rest. And if you did, man, now it's just about, pushing yourself and realizing that spiritually, it's not food that's what's going to preserve you, you know what I'm saying, and make you feel whole. It's really the words of the Lord that's going to give you that true fulfillment and satisfaction. So, our praise is just for, again, like the brother said, the opportunity to even fast, to begin with, the opportunity to understand the words of the Lord. And not only that, the opportunity to understand how powerful the Lord created us to be, you know.
Come on, man. I was gonna say too, man, that was a mighty point that the brother Obadiah brought up. Just saying how, he kind of get full off of eating an apple. And how mighty is that if you can get your body to the point where just to sustain you and be satisfied for the whole day, you only need 2 or 3 apples. You know what I'm saying? If you can get to that point, you kind of know you kind of ready for real affliction, right? You know that it don't take much to satisfy your flesh. You know that you're not gonna crash out in time of famine, right? Be looking at your neighbor like, they a lamb chop. You know what I'm saying? So a lot of what you see as a Day of Atonement, yes, it's for the atonement. But just like the brother Azrael and brother Obadiah said too, man, it's kind of a gut check for us how we live our lives on a day-to-day basis in general. and how we should be preparing our bodies for whatever may come in the future, right? You know what I'm saying? That's a mighty point to be in your health and in your flesh, right? Knowing that it doesn't take much to satisfy your fleshly man because your spiritual man is that much stronger. But
All right, man. I just say this, man, too. Like if you can um train if we and this part of the Most High just so wonderful, man. So even during Day of Atonement, we got one day to even to train ourselves up not to eat or drink. If you can train your body not to eat or drink no food or water, or you can basically overcome anything, man, because your body wants food and water or food and drink. Your body craves that. So if you can train your body up or train yourself up to abstain from food and water for a certain period of time, you can do anything. You can overcome that lust. You can overcome that pride, that that lust, that pride, that anger spirit. You can overcome anything if you can overcome not eating and drinking, because that's the hardest thing to do, not eat and drink. So if you can overcome that, you can overcome anything, man. Anything that comes within this flesh. So yeah, all praise to the Most High, man. Can the brother give me Romans 15:4? Because the video is called "The Miracles of the Most High" or "The Miracles of the Lord." So I just want to, or we just wanted to glorify the Most High God, during the time of atonement, during the time of affliction. Just pull a few miracles that He done did throughout history. Just talk about that a little bit. I got a couple of them that I want to touch on.
The book of Romans, chapter 15 and verse 4. For whatsoever things were written aforetime were written for our learning, that we through patience and comfort of the scriptures might have hope.
So, hey, man, when we read different accounts in the scriptures, they were made for our learning's sake. It wasn't made to just be interesting and just to be funny. The scriptures that we read about, the different accounts in the Bible that we read about, they were created for us they were created for generation and generation down the line to be able to look back at and to be like, man, that was mighty. The Most High did that for them. He can do it for me. So this is why we have the scriptures and things, man. Who knows? The Most High could be writing. The Most High could be writing some stuff down on our lives. You just never know, man. Just to glorify His name. I did this for my servant, right? I did that for them. They stood out there in the rain for me. So that's just good, to be able to read different accounts of the Most High delivering our ancestors out of different situations and showing His power. So also, if any brothers got some, if any brothers want to pull some scriptures on other accounts of the Most High showing His power, just let me know, man. We can go to it. But the first one I had was 1 Kings chapter 17 and verse 1-6. We're gonna do a little bit of reading today, man. We're gonna do a little bit of reading, not much, but it's gonna be a little bit. Going to Elijah getting fed by a raven. I think that's a mighty account, man. When I first read that, I'm like, man, if the Most High fed this man with ravens, how much more He can do that to us in that day of Jacob's trouble.
You said 1 Kings what?
17 and verse 1-6.
First Kings chapter 17, verses 1. And Elijah the Tishbite, who was of the inhabitants of Gilead, said unto Ahab, as the Lord God of Israel liveth, before whom I stand, there shall not be dew nor rain these years, but according to my word. And the word of the Lord came unto him, saying, Get thee hence, and turn thee eastward, and hide thyself by the brook Cherith, that is before Jordan. And it shall be that thou shalt drink of the brook, and I have commanded the ravens to feed thee there. So he went.
Like a king. That just it's just so mighty to me, man. He said, I commanded the ravens to feed you there. So before the plan even played out, before he got to where he was supposed to be at, the Most High already put it on the raven spirit to go and feed him. And that's just something I think about because, we coming, like I keep saying, we coming into, Jacob's trouble and some parable times. And it's going to be different than how I look outside now. And I thought may come to my head to where, how am I going to eat? How am I going to feed my family? But then you got to think about this account right here with Elijah and the raven. The Most High can send a raven to come and give you food. The Most High can send a lion. It can be a whole cake on the back of the lion's back, and he's walking up to you, and he's dropping the cake off to you and leaving. These things kind of sound like fairy tale, and it sound like cartoon, but these things are actually these are the things that the Most High do for his faithful servants. These are the things he do. He makes sure his faithful servants are straight when the whole world is in chaos, when the whole world is losing their mind. They don't know when they finna get their next meal. They don't know where it's coming from. But when it comes to his faithful servants, men, women, and children, he gonna make sure they straight in any way possible. What you got, King?
Man. And we know he can do this because he does it for the creatures out in nature all the time, right? We know he clothes the flowers, right? And we know he feeds the ravens themselves that neither sow nor reap. You know what I'm saying? So how much more of the for the beings that he created to serve him, if they're serving him, right? They don't, or birds don't. I don't think they necessarily wake up every morning wondering if they're gonna eat or not. They kind of just expect themselves to be eaten. You know what I'm saying? By the end of the day, and so that's the kind of faith you got to have too. I know a lot of people get in the rat race in society to the point where they get stressed out to be like, man, I don't know how we're gonna keep the lights on. I don't know how we're gonna eat tonight, right? But if you really have that faith, the faith of a raven, right, you should just know, man, something's coming your way. You know what I'm saying? And usually when you have that faith and you rely on that faith, the Lord will provide, because the Lord, he knows what it takes to sustain his creatures, to sustain his beings, right? And he has made promises to keep nourishment in your body and a roof over your head at times, so he can take it away, right? But he's faithful to do those things as much. If he requires us as husbands to provide certain things for our families, right? Him as the ultimate husband, right? If you have faith, you should know and count on that he's going to provide for you as well, and he knows what he's doing. Sometimes when you're with your wife and y'all talking about certain things that might pertain to your family and all that stuff, you may make certain decisions, and your wife really doesn't really know why you're making that decision, and it sounds crazy to her, but she's put in a position that she just got to trust you. It's the same thing we got to do with the Most High. Sometimes Most High puts us in positions and we don't really know what he's doing. It don't really, to our feeble minds, it seems like he don't know what he's doing, right? But we're put in a position to trust him too. You know what I'm saying? The Most High may fire you and you looking at him kind of crazy, like, how am I supposed to provide for my family and you fire me? Not knowing that he has something better for you, right? He has a lesson that he wants to teach you. It's the same thing. It's the same dynamic, but ultimately keeping that faith is what's going to keep you nourished. You know what I'm saying? Keeping that faith is what's going to keep you fed, right? Verse number 6, or are we on 5? I'll start at 5. So he went and did according unto the word of the Lord, for he went and dwelt by the brook Cherith, that is before Jordan. Verse number 6. And the ravens brought him bread and flesh in the morning, and bread and flesh in the evening, and he drank of the brook.
So it says the ravens brought him bread and flesh in the morning, so he ate breakfast, and it says they brought him flesh in the evening time. So he also had food in the evening. So this just wasn't no one-time thing that just brought it to him one time in the morning. That was it. No, they was basically like servants to the Most High. The Most High had them doing that, and they probably didn't know why they was doing that. You know, it was on their spirit to do that. The Lord put on their spirit to keep feeding them. So if we ever get to a point in life, or even just if we ever come in when we come into that time and you may get put in this situation, just think about Elijah. You know, the Most High fed Elijah with ravens. So how much more, us? How much more us, man? So I think that's a beautiful account, a spiritual booster when you just for the time that we coming in, man, just to read that. So all praise to the Most High. Um, can we get 2 Kings chapter 6 and verse 15 through 23? Now this is a mighty account right here, man. I think this one in the account I got next, in Second Maccabees, like these are it's beautiful accounts, man. Like the Most High, bro, he's magnificent.
John, it's the book of 2 Kings.
A lot of people,
Bro.
There's a crazy freeze frame there.
Go ahead.
Yeah, brother kind of froze.
I think he said go ahead. I'm not
You-
sure.
I didn't want to read it if he, you know what I'm saying, didn't want to, couldn't stop and break it down, though.
Go.
Slide your phone to the right 2 inches, brother.
You can see him?
Nah.
Is he still on?
He's still on.
But the screen is black. Con. Well, I guess while we waiting for him to get right, man, you can go to if you can go to a precept, whoever got this screen up, I guess we can read a precept while we waiting, because he did say, "Show the Lord," right? Can we go to the book of Exodus chapter 12? Exodus chapter 7, right? Exodus chapter 7. While we waiting on the brother, man, could really start at verse number 1. I think I'm only read verse number 1, to be honest. Well, let's read it like this, right? Exodus 7 and 1. And the Lord said unto Moses, See, I have made thee a god to Pharaoh, and Aaron thy brother shall be thy prophet. Now, the reason I wanted to kind of read this verse is because the brother Obadiah said, you brothers can bring up accounts where, the Lord kind of made himself known and did something great, and me personally, I always like reflecting back on what the Lord did for us in Egypt, man. How he manifested himself to his people during that Exodus, right, out of that captivity, because it's literally, I guess you could say, the where it all started for the children of Israel, not as far as their lineage is concerned, but more so as far as entering into the covenant with the Most High, personally, right? From there, we had an opportunity to enter into a covenant with him in the wilderness after he brought us out of that land, in Exodus chapter 24. But it's one of these things, this verse right here in specific is one of the verses I always reflect on, how the Lord made Moses a great man unto Pharaoh, and I'm not talking about a great man unto Pharaoh as he became Pharaoh's greatest servant, or he was serving Pharaoh and Pharaoh viewed him as a great man. I mean, as in Pharaoh, this man became like a god in the eyes of Pharaoh, like a literally great man. The same way people look at LeBron, the same way people look at Michael Jordan, the same way people look at Donald Trump, and hell, even with the passing of this man now, the same way people are starting to view Charlie Kirk, they view him as this great man of notoriety, fame, stature, status, whatever you want to call it. So thinking about how the Lord moves on our behalf, the Lord used Moses to free the children of Israel from the hand of the Egyptians, for those who didn't know that. And it was through Moses that the Lord did all these things. And it was verses like this that kind of keep me in remembrance of, how powerful the Lord really is and how he really does deliver and come through for us, even when we least expect it, even with the people that we least expect to be the people, right? And it's kind of cunning how Moses thought that he wasn't worthy enough because of his speech. David, people didn't consider David because he was a shepherd boy. How much more us? People won't consider us to be the people because we may not fit, you know what I'm saying, the status quo. We may not look like the people that, you would think that the Lord is dealing with, but at the end of the day, he is. Because now that the brother Obadiah back, I guess we can go back to 2 Kings 6. Salakia too.
Now you good. King, you good. All praise, man. That time was my connection. I don't know what's going on. I said, move your phone over to the right 2 times. All right, you gotta go, King.
This is the book of 2 Kings.
Yeah, man.
Chapter.
I thought it was gonna work. I thought I could hear. You go ahead, King.
Salakia, man. It just, I don't know.
Y'all
My
hear
bad.
Me?
Yeah.
Okay.
This is the book of 2 Kings, chapter 15. This book of 2 Kings, chapter 6, starting at verse 15. And it reads, it says, and when the servant of the man of God was risen early and gone forth, behold, a host compassed the city, both with horses and chariots. And his servant said unto him, alas, my master, how shall we do? Verse 16. You want me to keep reading through, Obadiah? Verse 16. And he answered, fear not, for they that be with us are more than they that be with them.
Yeah, you agree. I'll stop you, King. You can keep going.
Verse
so
17.
It's more with us than it is with them. So I just want to point. You good, King?
hey, look, my bad. You just kind of slight lag. So when you say something, yeah, like you say something, I couldn't hear it. You know what I'm saying? Salakia.
Okay, I figured out what it was. Now you good.
So verse 17. And Elisha prayed and said, Lord, I pray thee, open his eyes that he may see. And the Lord opened the eyes of the young man, and he saw, and behold, the mountain was full of horses and chariots of fire round about Elisha. And when they, verse 18.
So.
Oh, go ahead.
He said, and Elijah prayed and said, Lord, I pray thee, open his eyes that he may see. So just imagine, like, you just got to picture all this what's going on. Like, it don't look like it's nobody there. Then the Most High just opened his eyes and he see all these people around him. You got to picture that, man. Like, that's some type of stuff you see on the movie. Like this is like something you see on the movie, man. Like the whole time, like dude finna come to court, he don't know what he finna get himself into. He don't know what's all with the light, and we kind of look at that kind of like with us, man. Like, we don't need to think that it's just us. Like you just never know how many angels around us that's protecting us. Like that time that you should have gotten that car accident. Or that time when you should have stepped on that nail and you kind of seen it. That time when you should have almost stepped on a snake. Like I almost stepped on a snake at my parents' house yesterday. But the Most High had me look down at the right moment, and I seen the snake, and I kind of moved my foot. But it's just stuff like that It's like have angels that's protecting you from evil. So we should never think that we alone. Because it was time you was finna run that stop sign and you seen it almost at the last minute. You hit the brakes. The car coming, and if you would have kept going, that car would have hit you. So it's just stuff like that when we know that the Most High is looking out for us. When those situations happen, they could have been bad, but the Most High God stopped them. So all praise.
Con,
You keep
man.
going, King.
You know, The Rock got a song called Angels With Me on his Seven Trumpets album. And I posted that on my Instagram page about last week, I think it was, for our trumpets, man, because again, The Rock may be the artist I listen to the most, and it's true. I wouldn't say I have a favorite because I like all brothers who make, music and righteousness for the name of the Lord, God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob at the same level. But man, like I said, that album was the first album I listened to when I came into the truth, man. And when I first heard the truth, really. And I'm not gonna lie, Angels With Me has always been one of my songs because we really do take for granted sometimes how the Lord really protects us in situations that it could have ended up, in a different way. I remember times like it was one time. Now this may be a quick, it just may be a simple incident, but I remember one time I was fishing at this woman who church we went to house. Matter of fact, she just passed like a month ago, right? Her name was Sister Mills, right? Everybody called her Mama Mills, but her name was Michelle Mills. And we was fishing at her house one day with our church group, Boys to Men, a mentorship group. And then towards the end of, I guess you could say, our time there, or it was still during, like the middle time, but nonetheless, one of the brothers from the church caught a snapping turtle and put it in a bucket. Mind you, I'm only 11 at this time, so I didn't know what a snapping turtle was. And it was pretty big too. And I just seen a turtle in a bucket. So I'm like, oh, cool, what a turtle. I'm thinking I'm finna pet it, man. And I'm sticking my hand in the bucket, right, with my index finger on my right hand. Mind you, I'm right-handed. So I'm sticking my hand in there, and then out of nowhere, I just hear this loud voice yelling at me, say, hey, move your hand, boy, don't do that. And it was one of the dudes from my church. He was actually dating my mom at the time. His name was William Bettany. Never forget this. He said, you know what that is? I said, it's a turtle. He was like, nah, you gonna lose your finger putting your hand in there. And he said, look at this. He put a stick in the bucket and he put the stick down in the bucket, man. Next thing you know, that turtle snapped that stick in half so fast, boy. And I said, whoa. And I just think I reflect on that a lot because I think about, man, that could have been my finger that was gone. That could have been my finger that was gone instead of that stick. But I just feel like that was the protection of the Lord because sometimes, you put yourself in situations, you put yourself in harm's way, and maybe unknowingly, but unknowingly, the Lord also protects you from it. So all praises for that. And Salakia, I'm not trying to keep going on these side missions, but I'm just thinking about, how it applies to what the brother Obadiah was bringing out. You muted up.
Nah, that's a good testimony, man. He also touched on something, man, that I could relate to too. He talked about stepping on a nail, man. I remember, man, I was working for a furniture store and just moving too quick, and I was in the back of the little Sprinter van on a delivery, and there was a long nail, man. It was like a 6-inch long nail, and I was moving fast, and I seen it before I stepped on it, but I stepped on it, and it went straight through my boot. And I just knew for a fact we was gonna have to call it short, and I was gonna have to go to like a hospital or something like that, man. I lifted my foot up, the nail came out. Surprisingly, I didn't see any blood dripping, and so I went to the front seat, took off my boot, man, because the way the nail went in, man, it's like, man, it had to have gone through my foot. But the crazy part is, I took my boot off, man. I seen the hole, seen where it went in, but I didn't even have a hole in my sock or anything, man. No blood, no piercing, no anything. And I really, to this day, don't even realize, like, don't even know how it was possible, man, because I know for a fact I stepped on it because I felt me step on it. And I know for a fact the whole thing went in my boot because my boot was literally on the, went all the way down to the floor. And it was kind of hard to take it off. But to this day, man, I don't know how it did not pierce through my foot. You know what I'm saying? But it's just be like the miracles of God, like the brother was saying. A lot of things that were supposed to happen to us, a lot of things we were supposed to experience and witness that the Lord kept us from. Right? And I think we all have been in those situations where we've been in a car, either a car accident, fender bender, or, barely made it out of a car accident or something that's about to happen. I think we all got kind of those stories, man. But it's just to think how the Most High keeps us in his miracles, man.
Man. I know like brother said, man, I know we got all type of stories on most I just protect us. And we kind of thinking like, how did I not get hurt in this situation? How am I still alive? All praise to the Most High, man. That just shows that the angels are with you, man. But yeah, you can go back, King.
This is 2 Kings chapter 6, starting at verse 18. And it reads, and when they came down to him, Elisha prayed unto the Lord and said, smite this people, I pray thee, with blindness. And he smote them with blindness according to the word of Elisha. And Elisha, verse 19, and Elisha said unto them, this is not the way, neither is this the city. Follow me, and I will bring you to the man whom ye seek. But he led them to Samaria. And it came to pass, when they were coming to Samaria, that Elisha said, Lord, open the eyes of these men, that they may see. And the Lord opened their eyes, and they saw. And, behold, they were in the midst of Samaria. Verse 21, and the king of Israel said unto Elisha, when he saw them, my father, shall I smite them? Shall I smite them? And he answered, thou shalt not smite them. Wouldest thou smite those whom thou hast taken captive with thy sword and with thy bow? Set bread and water before them, that they may eat and drink, and go to their master. And he prepared great provision for them. And when they had eaten and drunk, he sent them away, and they went to their master. So the bands of Syria came no more into the land of Israel.
Right, man. So the Most High kind of set him up. He set him up, man. And this story just so mighty, man, because like it just shows what the Most High would do for faithful servants, man. Like, did you know, like, pay attention, like how the Most High was literally just listening to Elisha, and it ain't just not saying that he gotta listen to Elisha, but he was listening to Elisha because Elisha was faithful. Listen to what he never know in that day, and you might tell the Lord, can you close the mouth of those lions? Next thing you know, the lions eat you. That's mighty, man. So all praise to the Most High. And that's another story. In 2 Maccabees chapter 11, in verse 1 through 14. Now this story right here is tough. Like when I read this story for the first time, I'm like, man, like this is literally off. This is literally, it seems like when you that's literally off a movie, man. And I based it off our life. Yeah, but a brother can go I don't know who next. I think Azrael next.
This is 2 Maccabees chapter. You said what?
He said, "Can you hear me?"
Yeah, he was just asking, could you hear him?
The book of 2 Maccabees, chapter 11, starting at verse number 1. Not long after the Lassie.
Can't even hear you, Op.
You said start at what? You said start at what?
You ain't gonna be able to. So Salakia, those who on the lesson live, man, viewing in, you know, we just having some technical difficulties today, man, through the spirit. You know, it is Day of Atonement. You know, it is centered around affliction. So Brother O just having some technicalities that he usually doesn't have. Normally I'm the technical brother, but today he's decided to fulfill that role for it. So ask that y'all bear with us through the spirit, man. You know, nonetheless, Lord's will, the readings that we're reading, Most High will, you know, you're able to read. And when the brothers are reading, follow along. And if you can't follow along while they being read, then just write down, you know, the passages that the brother Obadiah has brought out through the spirit and go back and read them, because I think the message is conducive to, you know, the passages that he's bringing out, which is pretty much the miracles of the Lord, as the title of the lesson reads. So, Most High will, man, y'all just have a little bit patience with us. Salakia, though.
Come, man. And it's the good thing about going over these testimonies, so to speak, is because it builds your faith. Same thing about you know, fasting. It builds your faith, right? When you see something done, it refreshes you and it encourages you for the next time it arises in your life. The next time that you're without money and you need something to eat, you're going to remember that one time where you were broke and you didn't have nothing to eat, but God still had some random person bless you. And you're like, dang, bro, you don't even know I needed that to pay my rent. You don't even know I needed that to do this, X, Y, and Z. Same thing with fasting, right? You may not, you know, think that you can do something. You build yourself up to fast. So the next time you feel led to fast, you know that you can conquer it. Because, you know, I done did a 3-day fast. I done did a 5-day fast before. I ain't nothing to do with 1-day fast, right? It lets you know that you have done it before. You've been here before. And the Most High God answered your call. That's a testimony. That's increasing your faith.
Yeah, my like you, man. Just like you, man. That was the connect, saying somebody connection, bro. I pray though that they get, you know, that I stay on here. But
You were saying where?
Verse 1.
Oh, come. 2 Maccabees chapter 11, starting at verse number 1. Not long after the Lysias, the king's protector and cousin, who also managed the affairs, took sore displeasure for the things that were done. Verse 2. And when he had gathered about 80,000 with all the horsemen, he came against the Jews, thinking to make the city an habitation of the Gentiles. Verse 3, and to make a gain of the temple, as of other chapels of the heathen, and to set the high priesthood to sale every year. Not at all considering the power of God, but puffed up with his 10,000s of footmen and his thousands of horsemen, and his 80 elephants. Verse 5. So he came to Judea and drew near to Bethsura, which was a strong town, but distant from Jerusalem, about 5 furlongs. And he said, he laid sore siege unto it. Right. While we wait on the brother Obadiah, I want to make an emphasis. Nothing's new under the sun. A lot of times we feel like we're witnessing an oppression that we've never felt before. Our forefathers and foremothers witnessed oppression as well. Some may say even worse than what we've witnessed, right? Especially during the slave trade and times of the Greeks, times of the Romans. Certain things that they went through, we haven't experienced in our whole time of being alive, right? And I want you to know, like I said earlier, we are encouraged by these testimonies because we know if the Most High God can reverse this in the past, He can reverse it now, right? As we read, it says that they were thinking to make the city of Jerusalem a habitation of the Gentiles. We understand, like, anything that we build up, anything that we call our own, any new creation or invention that we make, they want to inhabit it. They want the Gentiles to get the credit. They want the Gentiles to move in and gentrify the neighborhoods and put up their coffee shops and things of that nature. They don't stop at their suburban areas or their gated communities. They want to come into the hoods and make that their habitation as well. This ain't nothing new. Then it says, and to make a gain of the temple. Then they want to steal our book. They want to steal our principles. They want to steal our laws and make gain of it. They want to charge you to go to theology school and seminary school. They want to charge you for tithes and offering. They want to charge you for all different type of stuff. They're making the temples for gain and the chapels of the heathen, right? You know, they have these church buildings where they sign up for 501(c)(3)s and make covenants with the government and have all different type of madness going on at their churches. They might hold their churches for a concert. They might have trick or treat or trunk or treat at their church, right? People dressing up in costumes like heathen, right? And it says to set the high priesthood to sale every year, man. Meaning they've turned our priests into lustful, money hungry men and women, right? So that's why you can get a women's convocation or women's retreat, and people is paying $200 to $500 for the retreat to go hear the word of God. A woman empowerment movement by T.D. Jakes' daughter, right? So nothing's new under the sun, man. Back then, you actually would see these footmen and these soldiers, though. That's why I say, a lot of times we act like we're in such an oppressive state, and how is the Most High God going to reverse this? He's done it before. And that's why we reflect on these testimonies. That's why we reflect on these holy days. That's why we reflect on the things that will build our faith up, which is the word. The first precept we went to today was Romans 15:4. He said that we might find hope and comfort of the scriptures. Hope. How are we going to get hope? By looking at the testimonies, seeing that, oh, he's done this before, so we have hope that he can do it again. That's what hope is, man. Right?
They'd even do that in today's time with music. Even though I know this is talking about the physical buildings, but think about the music that we listen to that's centered around God in today's time. A lot of it is becoming a lot more secular in a sense, right? A lot of it is just straight capitalism off of the name of the Lord, right? They wanted to put the temple at sale, and they wanted to make profits off the temple, and they wanted to put the priesthood at sale. Well, now our people are charging to hear the name of the Lord over the airways, and that's just kind of crazy because, again, like the brother Azrael said, it's nothing new under the sun. And people really like think we stupid for believing such things. Like, people have literally told me that I'm stupid for believing such things, but they don't really understand like the spiritual aspect behind everything, right? And they can't really make the connection between today's time and what took place back then because they don't read the words of the Lord, right? That's another precept that brothers always like to bring out. The brother Obadiah just had us read this, I want to say last week, Wednesday too, or this past week, on the Sabbath, when it was saying, blessed is he that readeth, and they that hear the words of this prophecy, that they may keep the things which are written therein, for the time is at hand. you know? And if you don't read this word, you're not going to be able to make the connection like the brother Azrael just did between today's time and between times back then, you know? But if you truly pay attention, when you read the word and you truly pay attention, you will see how similar it is from those times back then as to it is right now. Like I said, and it's not just with the physical things, it's with the music too. You know what I'm saying? It's too many people capitalizing off of saying the name Christ. You know, it's too many people capitalizing off of, you know, calling themselves a Christian, wearing a cross around their neck. I don't think it's no more true like Christians as the scriptures was in the time in today's time. I think that a lot of people now are just in Christianity because of what it can bring you, you know, the clout that you can get from it, you know, how you feel about it. Because even when people get baptized, I said this the other day on live, one thing that bothers me about it is not actually the act of wanting to be baptized, but more so about how people profess that they're doing it, or when people post that, you know what I'm saying, they got it done. And I'm not saying it's wrong to, you know, boast that you changed your ways into now you want to follow the ways of Christ. But I think it's more so of a social media driven thing to gain followers and gain clout from doing such act, you know. But like I said, it's, I guess that's a thing that's more of you got eyes to see and ears to hear type of thing. I know everybody won't agree with it, but you, those who know what I'm saying, know what I'm saying.
Man. The brother, he sent us the notes for the lesson. He said his Wi-Fi acting up, man. The brother household under affliction today, right? Rightfully so. But he sent us the notes, man, for the rest of the precepts, so we can go through the rest of the precepts and add unto it. So we'll finish this one out in 2 Maccabees. Verse 6 says, "Now when they that were with Maccabeus heard that he besieged the holds, they and all the people with lamentation and tears besought the Lord that he would send a good angel to deliver Israel." Right? They sought the Lord with tears that he would send somebody, a savior. Verse 7, "Then Maccabeus himself, first of all, took weapons, exhorting the other that they would jeopardize themselves together with him to help their brethren. So they went forth together with a willing mind." Right? Sometimes, you know, in life, bruh, we reach situations where we think, man, only God's going to have to pull off a miracle to get me out of this. And we just praying because we don't know how it's going to, you know, how it's going to, you know, turn the other hand. Right. And then, you know, you got to have a willing mind, though. Not everybody's going to have a willing mind, but you got to challenge yourself to be one of these people that have a willing mind. Verse 8 says, "And as they were at Jerusalem, they appeared before them on horseback, one in white clothing, shaking his armor of gold. Then they praised the merciful God altogether and took heart, insomuch that they were ready not only to fight with men, but with the most cruel beast, and to pierce through walls of iron." So whether they were seeing a vision or whether, you know, the Most High God was just trying to strengthen their confidence, or whether it was an actual angel on the battlefield with them, the Most High God was able to strengthen them and give them confidence to win the war, man. Sometimes you just got to be willing, right? And you got to put yourself in position to be willing to show God that you depend on him and that you're confident in him, and he'll, you know, he'll give you the confidence back. Verse 10, "Thus they marched forward in their armor, having an helper from heaven, for the Lord was merciful unto them. And given a charge upon their enemies like lions, they slew 11,000 footmen and 1,600 horsemen, and put all the others to flight. Many of them also being wounded escaped naked, and Lysias himself fled away shameful, and so escaped." Verse 13, "And Slakia, who, as he was a man of understanding, casting with himself what loss he had, and considering that the Hebrews could not be overcome, because the Almighty God helped them, he sent unto them." And that's one thing that, you know, our nation has failed to realize is the only reason why other nations cower down at us is not because of who we are. It's because of the God that we have, right? Everybody always is saying that we're a spiritual people right now, right? But they're not afraid of us. The only time they'll be afraid of us is when they start seeing God act on our behalf like this. And we got to read testimonies like this in Second Maccabees to let us know that God will show up for us again, man. Once we get our act together, the Most High God will show up for us, and He's going to these other nations will be terrified of messing with us, of oppressing us, of even thinking of coming up against us, because they'll know that there's nothing they can do because the God that we serve has finally acted on our behalf, right? Verse 14 says, and persuaded them to agree to all reasonable conditions, and promised that he would persuade the king that he must needs be a friend unto them, right? And this is going with the wise proverb that, we keep his commandments, he'll make even our enemies be at peace with us, right? And, the thing about it is, we're always recognizing the forces of wickedness and the forces of evil. And we're always recognizing how it can give you power, fame, and fortune, and it can give you all these things. We see this all the time in the earth. People sell their soul and get the world, right? We see that they do fast as well. We see that they do baptisms as well. We see that they do prayers as well. They do everything on the left hand that we do on the right hand. We see they do voodoo spells as well. And we see that sometimes it works for them, right? How much more is the power of our God on our side when he starts acting on our behalf again, right? So we got to reflect on these miracles, man, because he's going to hear us again, and you want to be on the right side of that fence, right? Well, we got these next precepts, brothers. Since we already in a rotation of reading, do we want to just take turns breaking down? The next breakdown is the three holy children. Then the next one after that is Paul being freed from jail.
We can do it that way. That was the way I was gonna suggest.
So the next precept we go to is Daniel 3:20. Daniel 3:20. Daniel 3:20 through 20. That brother was trying to go for 5 hours.
Through 20.
Yeah.
It don't make no sense.
I don't know.
20 through 20 is the same verse. It's just one verse.
Maybe he meant 20 through 30.
Maybe.
Yeah.
Daniel 3, chapter 20, starting at verse 20, says, and he commanded the most mighty men that were in his army to bind Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, and to cast them into the burning fiery furnace. Then these men were bound in their coats, their hosen, and their hats, and their other garments, and were cast into the midst of the burning fiery furnace. Therefore, because the king's commandment was urgent, and the furnace exceeding hot, the flame of the fire slew those men that took up Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. And these three men, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, fell down bound into the midst of the fiery furnace. Then Nebuchadnezzar, the king, was astonished and rose up in haste and spake and said unto these counselors, did not we cast three men bound into the midst of the fire? They answered and said unto the king, true, O king. Verse 25, he answered and said, lo, I see four men loose, walking in the midst of the fire, and they have no hurt. Right? This kind of goes back to, when I was saying how I stepped on that nail, man, and it was at least 6 inches, and when I pulled it out, I didn't see no blood, no hole, no anything. Crazy stuff. And from the fourth is like the Son of God, right? Verse 26, then Nebuchadnezzar came near to the mouth of the burning fiery furnace and spake and said, Shadrach, Meshach, Abednego, ye servants of the Most High God, come forth and come hither. Then Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego came forth of the midst of the fire of the fire. And the princes and the governors and the captains and the king's counselors being gathered together saw these men upon those bodies. The fire had no power, nor was a hair of their heads singed, neither were their coats changed, nor the smell of the fire passed on them. That's crazy, man, because, if you ever around fire, It's no way around smelling like fire or smelling like somebody that's been on the grill all day, right? Verse 28, then Nebuchadnezzar spake and said, Blessed be the God of Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, who has sent his angel and delivered his servants that trusted in him, and have changed the king's word and yielded their bodies, that they might not serve nor worship any God except their own God. Therefore I make a decree that every people, nation, and language which speak anything amiss against the God of Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego shall be cut into pieces, and their houses shall be made a dunghill, because there is no other God that can deliver after this sort. Then the king promoted Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego in the province of Babylon, just like the brother Azrael was saying, right? We got to get back to the point where people look at us with such power. To that point, we need more days like today, right? The Bible always speaks to us and says, man, if my people were to seek my face, humble themselves, turn from their wicked ways, then will I hear from heaven and I will turn their captivity, right? But this just goes to show that even when you're doing what you're supposed to do, even in your captivity, the Most High can show you favor, right? Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, or Hananiah, Azariah, Mishael, and Belteshazzar called Daniel, right? Daniela, Danal, right? This is who we see that's in their land of captivity, that we see being elevated amongst their captors. And of course, that comes with certain things, like when we read the story of I think we're gonna read it in Daniel about the lion's den, right? How even his elevation brought upon him envies and jealousies, right? But just like the brother Azrael was saying, to lay me back on his point, was the fact that people should be able to notice our God by the actions that we do, by the things that we do, right? And they should be able to see the evidence within us and be able to call out the miracles that happen with us, and notice the fact that the Most High God stands for us when we are obeying Him. That should be noticeable, right? Because when we go out into the world, it might not be on to this level, but you're gonna have people that are, I don't know how to, they might oppress you on minor scales, right? You go to the workplace, you might work for or with a lot of Edomites. They might not like the things that you do. They might say, hey, this brother takes too many days off for his so-called feast days, right? Does he think he's better than us, right? And they might start talking bad about you to your boss, and now your boss is trying to persecute you on behalf of them, right? But for some reason, you just keep coming up on top. For some reason, at the end of the month, your numbers still look better than theirs. For some reason, right, the favor still seems to follow you because you're keeping the commandments of God, right? And they have nothing left to think or say but to acknowledge and to recognize the fact that you have the Most High God on your side. We have to get back to that, for people to notice the Most High on our side. And when you get to that level, it makes life that much easier. But again, that's what today is all about, right? Humbling ourselves, turning from our wicked ways, so that we can gain back that confidence in the Most High, and the faith in the Most High that He'll fight our battles for us, and He'll have us shining in our land of captivities amongst our oppressors, right? But kind of yield. We can go on to the next one.
Also, too, man, in the spirit of atonement, and man, pray for some of our brothers and our sisters, because the Most High God, He controls the elements in this world. He controls fire, water, wind. He controls the venom that's in snakes, right? We know Paul got bit by a snake and nothing happened. The brother said that he stepped on a nail, nothing happened, right? They went into the fiery furnace, nothing happened, right? So just like that, some of your family and friends that may not have been in the truth when they took the vaccine and stuff, guess what? The Most High can make that nothing happen to them, right? If they repent and come back into the truth. So on this Day of Atonement, it's never too late to pray for our loved ones, man. It's never too late to pray that the Most High God perform miracles in their lives, to where, they see the glory and the mercy of God. The next one is in Acts chapter 16, starting at verse 25. We're going to go through 34. He says 25 through 34, the story of Paul in jail.
Con. This is Acts chapter 16, starting at verse 25. And it reads, And at midnight Paul and Silas prayed, and sang praises unto Yahweh. And the prisoners heard them. And suddenly there was a great earthquake, so that the foundations of the prison were shaken. And immediately all the doors were opened, and everyone's bands were loosed. And the keeper of the prisons, awaking out of his sleep, and seeing the prison doors open, he drew out his sword and would have killed himself, supposing that the prisoners had been fled. Verse 28, But Paul cried with a loud voice, saying, Do thyself no harm, for we are all here. Right? Verse 29, Then he called for a light, and sprang in, and came trembling, and fell down before Paul and Silas. Right? And brought them out and said, Sirs, what must I do to be saved? And they said, Believe on the Lord Jesus Christ, who the world calls Jesus Christ, uh, and thou shalt be saved in thy house. Right? And they spake unto him the word of the Lord, and to all that were in his house. And he took them the same hour of the night, and washed their stripes, and was baptized, he and all his straightway. And when he had brought them into his house, he set meat before them, and rejoiced, believing in God with all his house. So, a miracle of the Lord, man. Just looking at this guard, right? This prison guard would have started to commit suicide, just based on the fact that, he had failed at doing his job. They were all gone. Could have been a lot of things that was going through his mind that was causing him to do that. But a few things I want to point out. One being it a miracle because it ended up changing his life. He ended up hearkening unto the voice of our God. Willing to walk in the ways of our God, right, through the brothers' integrity. And that's one thing that I always point out, and I'm gonna say it again. The brother Azrael did a lesson a few years ago. Keep thine integrity, man, because integrity carries you a long way in life, and you may not realize it, but it's something that if you lack it, you'll see how worse off your life will be in the long run as opposed to if you keep it, regardless of the outcome of the situation at the time. In the long run, it'll benefit you more, because you can always reflect on the fact that you've been someone to keep your integrity, right? But saying that to say in this passage, you can clearly see how even it's two ways to look at it, right? You can look at it as a testimony for the prison guard, or you can look at it as a testimony for, Paul and Silas and the brethren that were in chains and bondage, or you can look at it as a testimony for both. And I say both because even those brothers that were bound, they were able to be loose. Again, the Lord you may be in a situation where you locked up, and the Lord may cause something to happen to free you. There was an incident where there was a lot of brothers who were locked up in prison houses during the time COVID came out, and they were able to get out of prison because of that virus that was going around, because of the pandemic. And some brothers could have been in there for being wrongfully accused. I mean, there could have been any reason why people were in there, but nonetheless, there was brothers in there who was begging and pleading with the Lord to have an opportunity to get out, and redo this thing over called life. And they were granted that opportunity through, that phenomenon that took place a few years back. So all praises to the Lord for, again, like the brother Azrael mentioned earlier, the thing that which had been is that which shall be. And the thing that which hath been done is that which shall be done. For there is no new thing under the sun. We can clearly see it right here when uh, again, Paul and Silas in the jail, we can clearly see how they let out a praise ring, and they were freed from, I guess you can say, captivity. And that's how it's going to be with us. Could you scroll back up real quick? Because I want to emphasize this verse, right? We can start right there, right? I'm going to read these couple verses again because I just want to make sure I'm recounting it right, and I want to emphasize one of these things, right? So, and it says in verse 25, it says, And at midnight, Paul and Silas prayed and sang praises unto God, and the prisoners heard them. I want to make that a point of impact because how even with our Day of Atonement fasting, right? If we cry out and we sing praises unto the Most High, hey, late in the midnight hour, He can change any one of our situations around. Long as we're out here diligently praying and seeking Him, right, and singing praises unto Him, it's never too late for the Lord to make anything happen on your behalf. It may be 0.1 of a second on the clock, and by NBA standards, you cannot uh, accurately secure and attempt a real basketball shot, a field goal attempt in under 0.3 seconds, right? So you may be working against man's standard of time, right? But the Lord may make something happen for you to be able for you to get that shot off. And it might be the shot you needed to win the game, just the same way in the midnight hour, how these brothers were singing praises unto the Lord and He freed them, right? And then it says in verse 26, and suddenly there was a great earthquake, right? So that the foundations of the prison were shaken, and immediately all the doors were open and everyone's bands were loose. Again, it doesn't always have to manifest in a physical, disasters, right? But like I said earlier, because of there was an illness going around the world a couple of years ago, there was brothers that were in the same situation, singing praises unto the Lord and were freed, right? Their bands were loosed because of their faithfulness and diligence, and the Lord heard their cries and gave them an opportunity to be free, right? Verse 27, and the keeper of the prison, awaking out of his sleep, seeing the prison doors open, he drew out his sword and would have killed himself, supposing that the prisoners had been fled. But Paul cried with a loud voice, saying, do thyself no harm, for we are all here. Again, having the integrity to even stay right after they were locked up speaks volumes into the type of character that we as people and believers of the covenant of the Lord should have, because not only did it save his life, it could have also saved theirs. They could have left them prison house as soon as them chains broke loose, and then they could have been chased by, thousands of horsemen, who knows what could have happened, right? But being that they chose to stay, right, and they chose to keep their integrity, hey, the Lord gave them an opportunity to save another soul, Well, in the Christian sense, save another soul, but in our sense, we say the Lord gave them an opportunity to witness to a brother and have them follow our customs and our God. So again, when we're talking about miracles of the Lord, this is one of them, along with the many that Paul, experienced. And the brother stole the one I was going to mention later on, which is when Paul got bit by that serpent. But Con, it all works the same. This is another miracle, but we can go to the next passage.
Man, I like how that ties together too. Keeping your integrity, and also God using crises, right, to free people, man. A lot of times you don't know, like that vaccine and COVID and all that. A lot of times you was like, man, I don't want to wear this mask. I don't want to do all that. Little did you know he was answering somebody's prayer. A lot of times in life we don't know why things happen, man, but a lot of times God be answering somebody's prayer. That prayer be too mighty, God got to answer it. But also, like the brother said, man, keeping your integrity, man. Because even when we look at Joseph kept his integrity. And even though he was put in prison, guess what? It said that he had favor with the prison guards and got whatever he wanted, right? When we look at the 3 Hebrew boys, right? They kept their integrity. Whether we live or we die, we serving our God. After they were found untouched in that fire, man, the king of Babylon was so distraught. He said, hey, man, set these brothers up, make them counselors, make them rulers over provinces, X, Y, and Z. They kept their integrity and they were blessed for it and had favor because of that, man, And so I'm led to believe, Paul and them, they so bold to sing in prison because, like, Paul wrote it himself, Romans 15:4. Like, we got to reflect on the things that's written in the scriptures. I know for a fact he doesn't save somebody out of the lion's den, which we're about to read right now. And he doesn't save people out of the fiery furnace. He doesn't save people out of prison before. He can do it again. And that's what these testimonies are for, to show us that if he did it before, he can do it again. Man.
Hey, Salaki, real quick before you start reading, that's a Ty Tribbett song. If he did it before, he can do it again, man. Same God right now, same God back then. You know, ain't no difference in the Lord. He don't change. So I was gonna say that point earlier when after the brother Denal got done reading, you know, in Daniel, I think we was in Daniel 3 and 20 through 30, because there was a point I was gonna say too, when you mentioned praying for our brothers and sisters who may have, you know, taken the jab, right? Oftentimes it's Israelites. Sometimes you got the Israelites who get carried away and being a zealous Israelite, and it's more so for vanity than it is for the zeal of the Father, because you got some Israelites that kind of boast in the fact that somebody took the jab and that they'll die. But a lot of times, sometimes the thing that you really got to do as a brother is pray that the Lord have mercy upon them, because they were ignorant when they did it, regardless if you told them, right? Now, if you told them and they still did it, yeah, it is different than somebody who never knew. But at the end of the day, nonetheless, the Lord doesn't even take pleasure in killing us off, right? Which is why he gave us a day to atone for our sins. The Lord wants us to repent and live a life righteous, set apart, sacred unto him, follow his commandments, his laws, his statutes. So there's an aspect of being an Israelite that you have to go by, which is the aspect of not only forgiving a brother, but also being a brother of integrity, knowing that even though somebody may have fall short in whatever aspect of life, that shouldn't be an opportunity for you to capitalize on their shortcoming. If anything, it should be an opportunity for you to capitalize in your faith and treat a brother, you know, encourage them to repent, pray for them, fast for them, you know, change their way, you know, because that's what we should be doing one with another, right? But that was what I was gonna say earlier.
I watched a lesson a few days ago of some brothers on the corner, and they were scoffing and joking, but they was being serious at the same time. They said, man, you know, some of you brothers out there, man, if the Most High God came to you like he came to Moses and said, hey, get up out the way, I'm about to destroy all of them so I can start fresh with you. Y'all, they was like, a lot of y'all brothers would have got out the way. That's why y'all wasn't Moses. Because, you know, Moses told God, nah, don't do that. Because, you know, if you do that, then the Egyptians going to be like, did you bring us out just to destroy us and, you know, give your people one more chance? You know, Moses fought for the people, even in their ignorance, even in their rebellion. Right. So I think those brothers made a good point when they said a lot of brothers, a lot of sisters would have, you know, you couldn't have been Moses, because if Most High God told you to move out the way, you would have just moved out the way and let God just take everybody out. Right. Right. But you gotta, you know, the weightier matters of the law, man. One of those is, you know, is mercy. Right. You gotta understand how to execute mercy and judgment at a just balance, man. You know what I'm saying? And not just always give judgment all the time. Sometimes you gotta give people mercy, right? Because the whole point of this walk is to get eternal life. It's life. You should want your brother and your sisters next to you to get life, not end their life.
Right. And that's the thing I was going to add on to as well, is we still have a lot of brothers who are teachers, who are scholars. The same thing with sisters, right? Who may be women that obey their husbands, but nonetheless, they still got the I, me spirit, you know? And that's the thing that separates the great men of old that we read about from men of today's time who feel like they're mighty, is that they're more I, me, because we got a lot of brothers and sisters who, hey, if you even, you know what I'm saying? Like, dang, I don't want to reference that. So I'm going to just go a different direction. You got a lot of brothers and sisters with the I, me spirit, in so much that, you know, like the brother said, if there's an opportunity for you to allow somebody to be destroyed, you'll take that opportunity to allow them to be destroyed. You know, we got a lot of people, instead of praying for somebody, you know, in secret, right? Instead of praying for these people, sometimes you got a lot of people just, you know, straight rebuking. Like the brother said, no mercy one towards another. And that's crazy because, again, it's all rooted in vanity. You know, everybody wants to be the most righteous person on the face of the earth. Everybody wants to seem the mightiest. But how much more do we need humble people than mighty ones? You know what I'm saying? Because the Lord is going to exalt those who are humble, right? And they're going to be viewed as those who are in great positions of power, right? Who could really lead men, right? We got a lot of people who are older and teachers, but they're immature, right? We got a lot of people who want to be that guy. But again, that's what separated Moses. He didn't want to be that guy. That's what separated David. He wasn't really looking to be that guy. He wasn't even the one Jesse was advocating for, to be that guy who could slay Goliath. You know what I'm saying? So we got to start considering our ways and that's another thing that we can reflect on during this DOA is our character, right? But it all boils back down to integrity. Are you somebody of integrity? I wouldn't want my brothers on the screen and the brothers not on the screen to perish. You know what I'm saying? And likewise, I know they wouldn't want that for me. You know, we rebuke, and a lot of people see the hopeful elect, man, and they see brothers, right? But people really don't know, like, our relationship is we rebuke each other a lot. When we get in, man, we get into heated arguments all the time about the Bible. We have conversations about it, you know, but that's because again, we're sharpening iron. But it's more so of a situation whereas we rather, you know, saying speak with a brother, talk to a brother, break down bread with a brother, encourage a brother before we see a brother fall, you know, before we rejoice that a brother fell away, you know, and kind of step on him and kick him while he's down, you know. So we just got to be better people all around moving forward, because at the end of the day, it's not about me, it's not about you or you, it's about the team of Israel, right? And how much better can the team of Israel be? But Khan, I yield. Slack it.
Con, man, con. It's a team effort, man. And you know, that's what it's just been on my heart this Day of Atonement, just to emphasize that, man, the team, because you know, Day of Atonement, we always emphasize on ourselves and what we got to repent for. But man, this day was really originally created for the nation, because the Most High sees us as individuals, yes, but man, the Most High sees us all as his children, this nation as his bride. So, you know, we want, you know, as much as possible to wake up, man. This next story is going to be Daniel in the lion's den, right? We're going to be coming out of Daniel 6, starting at verse 16 and going through 23, right? Verse 16 says, then the king commanded, and they brought Daniel and cast him into the den of lions. Now the king spake and said unto Daniel, thy God, whom thou servest continually, he will deliver thee. Right? Verse 17, and a stone was brought and laid upon the mouth of the den, and the king sealed it with his own signet and with the signet of his lords, that the purpose might not be changed concerning Daniel. Right? Spiritually, man, a lot of us, we get trapped in situations. Sometimes we get trapped in certain tribulations. Sometimes we get trapped in certain temptations, and we feel like the doors closed with a stone, and we feel like, you know, we're compassed about lions. Everything and everybody is just, you know, coming against us, right? And the thing about that is, right, even though your situation seems like you can't get out of it, there's testimonies showing that you can, like what we're reading, right? It's nothing that the Lord can't deliver you from. Literally nothing. The Lord has created every element, everything in this world. So he can destroy it and he can deliver you from it. Verse 18. Then the king went to his palace and passed the night fasting. Salakia. Then the king went to his palace and passed the night fasting. Neither were instruments of music brought before him, and his sleep went from him. Right? So at this point, the king loved Daniel so much, he didn't want Daniel to be in that position. Right? And so this is why a lot of times, man, the Bible would tell us that, you know, going to these other nations is vanity. It's, you know, they going to them for vain help because they can't help you for nothing, like roughly paraphrasing. But even, you know, these other nations, they don't keep their integrity, right? What's the point of you, you know, staying up all night and fasting and because you love Dan, you still threw them in there. Like, what in the world? Like, you keep your integrity. Stop, you know, and that's another thing for these Gentile cleavers. If you want to be a cleaver, hey, you're gonna have to be bold for God's people, and you're gonna have to be bold for God. You can't just do what you want to do, right? You can't just do what's the easy decision to do. You got to keep your integrity too, right? Verse 19.
And that goes to show too, man, you know, you read this, man, and it's like, I get it, off a GP, you can't go back on your word, so you say, but as the king and everything is underneath your thumb, underneath your rule, you had the power to stop all this, man. You know what I'm saying? But at the end of the day, man, it all worked for the greater good because the Most High's power was shown at the end of the day.
Right. And that's why even Christ, when he went up to Caesar, right? Christ said, "Hey, look, you have the power to do nothing. I'm here because the Most High God has allowed this to happen." Right. At the end of the day, that's what it is. So a lot of times you see police brutality, and they done did something crazy to somebody that was shirtless and defenseless. You're like, why does that happen? Why these animals? They'll never do that to me. They'll never do that to my kids. They'll never do that to you say that, but you have to reflect back on these curses. Most like God put curses on us, said they would not show compassion on the least to the greatest of us, the oldest to the youngest of us, right? It was going to be a fierce nation, a fierce countenance. But like the brother Denal just said, man, we go through what we go through so God can show his power and confound them. It doesn't matter what president is making what laws for us or what laws he's not making for us, right? What doesn't matter what judge is making what sentence for us or what not sentence for us, right? At the end of the day, the Most High God is causing everything to happen for a reason. We have no reason to be mad at Gentiles. This is a relationship that we got with us and the Father. It's us and the Father over everybody. And whatever happens in between, it's still between us and the Father.
And when you keep reading, man, you're going to see, man, and none of this was personal to Daniel. He didn't develop a hate for the king just because of the situation. Man, he was put in the lion's den by the king, and you're going to keep reading. You're going to see that he still respected the king, still, you know what I'm saying, made it known that he didn't want anything bad to happen to the king, all of that. Just like the brother said, man, don't take the oppression that you get in this captivity personal with your oppressors. They're only the tools that he's using to punish us. But at the end of the day, it is us while we're in this situation in the first place. And we have to trust and believe that even in our land of captivity, if we do the right thing, that we can bypass some of this oppression, right? Don't make things harder than what it has to be.
Come on, man. Daniel wasn't mad at the king. He's like, man, ain't got nothing to do with you.
He said, hey, you're going to keep reading, but he pretty much said, I'm down here chilling, man. Yeah. You worrying, you losing sleep at night. I'm down here chilling, man. I'm straight.
Verse 19. Then the king arose very early in the morning and went in haste unto the den of lions. Verse 20. And when he came to the den, he cried with a lamentable voice unto Daniel. And the king spake and said to Daniel, O Daniel, servant of the living God, is thy God whom thou servest continually able to deliver thee from the lions? Verse 21. Then Daniel said unto the king, O king, live forever. My God has sent his angel and has shut the lions' mouths, that they have not hurt me. For as much as before him innocency was found in me, and also before thee, O king, have I done no hurt. Hey, that's another thing too. It's a fine line in keeping integrity for the land that you're living in and then for your God. You always keep the integrity for your God first. Because even though the land that he's living in found him guilty, the God he serves found him innocent. And so that's how you know the Most High God will always save you, when you're innocent according to God, right? Sometimes through the naked eye, it may seem like what you're doing is wrong because of the laws of the land that you're living in, right? But as long as you're innocent to God, he'll save you out of whatever situation you find yourself in.
Not only that, man, being innocent to him, he was innocent to the king too, man. If you read up before he even got to this situation, they were trying their best to try to accuse Daniel of whatever, to persecute him, because they hated the fact that the king set Daniel over them, right? And so at the end of the day, man, it was, I mean, the king knew this deep down inside, but he was innocent, not only in the eyes of God, but he was innocent in the eyes of everybody, right? That's why they put him in this position to try to catch him up in the first place. And at the end of the day, he's letting the king know that, hey, look, I was found innocent, because you can make a decree about me not praying and all of this stuff, but at the end of the day, me praying to my God doesn't hurt anybody, right? That's why he says, have I done no hurt, right? He hasn't hurt. I didn't do anything to you, O king, right? I didn't do anything to your men, right? I'm in this position for no reason. So why should I die? And that's how the Most High looked at it as well.
God, man, that's why a lot of times you'll find yourself in situations where America, in the land that we're living, they may say, man, you know, you can't take Saturday off. You can't take days off for the holy day or whatever. But in their laws, it says that we have freedom of religion. And to God, God commands us to take these days off. So when we take these days off, God finds us innocent. And so God will stick up for us, right? We've seen it happen. And we have to have the same spirit as Daniel and the 3 Hebrew boys. Even if God don't stick up for us, we're still going to do it because we serve God. But 9 times out of 10, if God find you innocent, he's going to stick up for you. If he finds you innocent, he will stick up for you, right? Verse 23. You got to be innocent though, right? You got to be innocent. You can't just be doing sin and your intent is not a righteous intent of why you didn't go into work. It is a Saturday. It is a Sabbath. Technically, it's a Sabbath on this. This is a holy day, so I don't want to go to work. You doing it for the wrong reasons, and then you still not. You took off of work, but you still going to the store and all that. You still do. Come on, bro. You're not found innocent. Don't be surprised when God don't stick up for you.
Man. 2 things I want to point out, man. We read about the 3 Hebrew boys, and now we're reading about Daniel. 2 things they had in common was the fact that both of them they didn't waste no time, right? They didn't beat around the bush. The 3 Hebrew boys, they told Nebuchadnezzar, they told him, hey, we're not caught. He asked him a question, and you know, to anybody, you know, you ask him a question like, are you prepared to die or something like that? You know, for anybody, they'll probably, you know, take a little time to answer. You know what I'm saying? They responded immediately and said, there's no caution within our answer. Whether we live or we die, we will serve the Lord, right? There's no hesitancy in our answer. We already know what we're going to say to you, and it's not going to change. Whether we live or we die, we're going to serve the Lord. Same thing for Daniel, right? Then if you read up before we get to his persecution, it says when Daniel first found out that the king made this decree and he signed off on it, as soon as he signed off on it, the first thing that Daniel did was to go and ask for petition from his Lord, right? It was just a decree that says don't ask any god outside of the king for anything, right? As soon as he heard that it was done, the first thing he did was go ask his God for something, right? He didn't waste no time. So
opened up that window, face towards Jerusalem, started
that's the
praying.
first thing he did, man, was to go against that decree, right? So
I want to say he ran home.
So a lot of times, man, when you face with wicked decrees in this land of captivity, a lot of times when you're faced with scary moments, man, the Most High, he's gonna show up and be bold just as much as you are bold. So it's kind of a gut check to us. How bold are we when we're facing affliction? Are we a little hesitant at first, right? Do we take a little time to answer, right? Your boss calls you, you're ignoring his phone calls because you're afraid that he might ask you to come in, right? You're afraid to respond to that text message sent by your supervisor, right? Nah, be bold for the Lord. Reply back so fast they don't even think you read what they sent you. You know what I'm saying?
You got to put the pressure on them.
Because when you act bold for the Lord, he's going to be bold for you.
Yeah, and you put that pressure on them, a lot of times they cower down, man. A lot of times, you know, it's really whoever the more aggressive person is. I remember I was working at FedEx for this this African guy that was Nation of Islam. And before he hired me, I had got the job through another Israelite. And before he hired me, I was like, I don't work Saturdays now. Don't work Saturday. So he came in, he the owner of the contractor with there. He came in, you know, everybody trying to dap him up, everybody, hey, Mr. So-and-so, hey, Mr. Blah, blah. You know, he got his kids with him and stuff. You know, I'm just, you know, loading my truck up. He come up to me, he said, you the new guy, right? I said, yeah, yes, sir. And he was like, all right, yeah, man. It was telling me you don't work on Saturdays, man. What's up with that? I said, yeah, man. You know, you ever heard of Israelites? He said, yeah, I heard of them. Yeah, I heard of them. He's an older guy. I said, yeah, I'm an Israelite, man. I don't work on, that's my Sabbath day. He said, okay, I understand. You can't work with me though. Maybe like one Saturday out of the month, man. You can't work with me. I'll give you, more than time and a half. I pay you double time that day if you work with me. And I just need the help. said, nah, I can't do it. He said, well, don't answer right now, man. You know, so and so, they Israelites too. I noticed they, you know, they know you or whatever, you know, they be coming in on Saturday. And I said, yeah, I don't need time to think about it. I can't do it. I looked at him, smiled. I said, I can't do it, bro. I said, I can't do it, sir. He said, I don't just think about it. I said, yeah, I already did, but all right. And then, you know, he walked on down the line. I finished loading my truck. But that's how you gotta be, man. They're gonna try you out here. These heathen men are gonna try you out here, man. You gotta stand bold for the Lord, man. And the Most High God is putting you in those situations on purpose to test your faith, to test you as a servant, right? He's testing you, and you got to be able to see the test, man.
Man, I got a similar story. When I was working as a aluminum welder down at Cat, Yancey and Cat. And you know, I had the same kind of conversation with my supervisor. He first hired me. I told him I couldn't work Sabbath, and it was cool. And I started noticing a lot of people backbiting and talking behind my back. And they, you know, it's cliche, but I could tell that they didn't think I was listening to them. But they were saying stuff like, "Yeah, why they don't make the new guy don't come in on Saturdays, X, Y, and Z, right?" So it was only a matter of time where I got that call, man. It was one day, the end of the day, I think it was like a Wednesday, and you know, it was like 2 hours before we were about to leave, and somebody, my team lead came and got me, and he was like, "Hey, the supervisor wants to talk to you." Went to his office. He's gonna sit there. So yeah, man. We're really gonna need you to come in on Saturday. I said, but you know, we talked about me not coming on Saturday. He tried to lie. He said, I don't think I ever said, I don't think I ever agreed to that. I was like, yeah. And so was in here at the same time when we talked about it. If we want to go get him, I'm sure he can vouch for it. That's not necessary. But what we do need you to start coming in on Saturdays. And I said, man, I really just don't think I can do it. It's a religious day for me, kind of like a Seventh-day Adventist. That's my favorite line. Kind of like a Seventh-day Adventist. That's my holy day though. I don't work on that day. And he was like, I understand, because you know I'm really strong in my faith too. You know, I always go to church on Sunday. But I come in after that. You know what I'm saying? And I say, yeah, I just can't work for that whole day. That's what I believe. He said, I understand. How about this? I'll give you some time to think about it. And just let me know by next week. I ain't gonna lie. I initially said okay, right? And then as I'm walking out the door, I turn around and I said pretty much kind of like what Brother Azrael said. I said, you know, on second thought, I really don't need that much time to think about it. There's no way I can get around it, to be honest. And so I know it's not gonna work. But I told him, I said, but how about this? I know it's probably a problem. I know you probably kind of want to let me go. Can I at least finish out the week? Right. So he let me finish out the week. It was Wednesday. He let me finish out till Friday. After Friday, them jokers didn't see me or hear from me after that. So, you know, but again, like, man, we got to be more like the three Hebrew boys and Daniel. We got to be bold for the Lord right then and there. Don't take no time. Don't be hesitant. Don't be cautious. Right. Go ahead and let them know what it is, man. And the Most High, he will show up and show out for you. After you do that, right? He has shown up and showed out for me ever since I've done that. So, you know, just another testimony.
Hey, I want to read a precept too.
1 second. Let me read this last this last line, and then I'll go with it. Verse 23. Then was the king exceedingly glad for him, and commanded that they should take Daniel up out of the den. So Daniel was taken up out of the den, and no manner of hurt was found upon him, because he believed in his God. What was your precept?
Go to Romans chapter 13, because I mentioned it the other day, but I just want to bring it up, you know, for the lesson, because it flows, you know, very fluid. Likewise, man, even now, man, I have been, you know, on the job hunt per se, and I've had some opportunities, but ultimately it boiled down to I can't work on the Sabbath, so them opportunities were squandered, man. And it was some real good opportunities too, but again, man, you know, it's just that covenant that we made with the Lord, you know, years and years and years and years ago that you just can't seem to get around, you know. And some people look at it like handcuffs, right? But like the brother Danal did a lesson a few years back, man, we got to look at these commandments, especially the Sabbath day, like gold bracelets. You know, we get it one day that we don't got to work. You know, we don't got to do no work. We don't got to work our animals. We don't got to work our servants. We don't got to do none of that. We can just rest and relax, man. And in a world so driven by grind don't stop, man. It's a lot of people that's dying just because they're not giving their bodies adequate time to rest. You know, so I appreciate the Lord for even thinking about, you know, his people enough to say, hey, this day we gonna rest on. You know, if I gotta take a day off from creating the world, you get to take a day off from your labors and, doing what you do throughout the week. But this is Romans chapter 13. I'll start at verse 1. I'm gonna be quick. I'm gonna try to be swift with reading. But I'm gonna read through, I want to say 5. Let me be swift though. Romans 13:1, it says, let every soul be subject unto the higher powers, right? For there was no power but of God. The higher powers, the powers that be ordained are of God, right? So don't get too confused by what that says. Many people think that it's of the Lord's will for, President Trump to be the president. It is. And some people would equate that to meaning that, President Trump is of the Lord, but or they think that the system that's set up is of the Lord. But let's keep reading and we'll make sense of it all. Verse 2. Whosoever therefore resisted the power, resisted the ordinance of God, and they that resist shall receive to themselves damnation. Right? Let's keep reading. Verse 3. For rulers are not a terror to good works. Let's read that again because this is important. It says, for rulers, the powers that be, are not a terror to good works, but to the evil. Wilt thou then not be afraid of the power? Do that which is good, and thou shalt have praise of the same. So the rulers, the people that are in positions of power, your bosses, the government officials, your mayors, all these people, your elected officials, right? They're not a terror unto good works. Just like the brothers just read in the book of Daniel, right? Chapter 6, when it comes to Daniel being in the lion's den. Hey, Salaki, a lot of what these folks are doing, man, you can't even be mad at it. It ain't really got nothing to do with them, right? This is of the Lord, right? This is of the Lord's will. This is happening. So what can I gain from this? What can I do, you know what I'm saying, to show the Lord that I'm faithful and I'm grateful for him in this situation, right? Daniel could have been like, man, hell no, I ain't going in that line, damn, but fuck that, you know what I'm saying? He could have said a lot of things. He could have been like, nah, twin, I ain't even on that type of time. But instead, he obeyed the Lord, right? And in so much, like we read, man, he wasn't even stunting the king, you know what I'm saying? Because it wasn't of the king, right? It was everything of the Lord, right? So you got to be mindful that a lot of things that happen in this life when it comes to these jobs, when it comes to any situation that you're in, you got to think about what are the good works that I can do in this situation to further profess the name of the Lord, not in tongue or not in word, right? But rather in deed, because our actions are what people see more than the words that they hear, right? It's about what you do more than what you say. What you say is important too, right? But let's keep reading. Verse 4.
Go
ahead.
Before you read forward. Also, too, man, these rulers, man, these bosses and stuff, man, if you're doing the works of the Most High God, you should not even be afraid of their answer. You shouldn't be afraid of their response or their replies, right? Your coworkers may be afraid of them. Your coworkers may, be kissing butt. Your coworkers may be trembling whenever they say, hey, can I speak to you in my office for a second? But if you're doing what God requires you to do, it don't matter what they have to say to you. It should not faze you. Even if they fire you, if you know that you're found innocent with God, okay, if they fire me, they fire me. God got something else lined up for me. Because he know that, I've been doing everything I should be doing. I've been respecting these earthly masters, and I've been keeping his word. And so, the Lord's gonna fight for you. If they fire you, they fire you. Right? That job wasn't for you, man. You know what I'm saying? You don't want to live in a situation to where it's constant stress and you got to worry about your boss anyway. Most like God might got a better boss for you. So when they say rulers are not terror to good works, but to the evil, just understand you're not like your coworkers. You serve the Most High God. You shouldn't be afraid of your bosses, bro. Pecan, man.
Man, again, right? There's no respect to persons with God. There should be no respect to persons with us. The only person we should respect is the Lord, right? The Lord of hosts. So, like the brother said, a lot of times we save our lives in this captivity by obeying our boss's commands. Our boss say, come in on the Sabbath. We just go ahead and do it because at the end of the day, we know that we need the money to live. But just on the off chance, it could be that it's one Saturday that the machine that you're working on decides to blow up. Now you laying dead, your family got to bury you. And some people would be like, oh, it was just his time. But we'll say, shoot, that's judgment from the Lord, because had he not been there on Saturday, that wouldn't have been him. You know what I'm saying? You never think about well, I put it like this. A lot of times people really don't think about the consequence of their actions, right? They just think about how their action would benefit them, but they don't think of how it would negatively affect them or their family, right? So that's what you got to think about when it comes to the Lord, how this can negatively affect you. But that's why, again, in verse 3, it says, for rulers are not a terror unto good works. It was a good work for the brother Denal to tell his boss, yeah, I can't do it. You know what I'm saying? It was a good work for brother Azrael to stand on this square and do the same, telling his boss, nah, Saturdays is, it's my Sabbath. I'm an Israelite. I can't work on that day, because why? At the end of the day, it's the truth that's going to set brothers free, right? Not living a lie, So that's why it's important to continue in walking in the good works of the Lord, regardless of the situation or circumstance, because at the end of the day, the Lord will fight for you and ye shall hold your peace. That's Exodus 14:14. But you have to be actually doing the fight. You have to be actually in the ring fighting, right? These powers and principalities that come against you. You can't be sitting on the sideline just getting beat the heck up, right? Letting people do anything to you, saying anything, walking any direction they tell you to walk, talking any way they tell you to talk, thinking that the Lord is going to be for you, when really it is you that's against him, right? Not the other way around. But let's finish this out. Verse 4, it says, for he is the minister of God to thee for good, right? Hey, these bosses and stuff, they're the ministers of the Lord for the good, right? It says, but if thou do that which is evil, be afraid, for he beareth not the sword in vain. For he is the minister of God, a revenger to execute wrath upon him that doeth evil. Verse 5, wherefore ye must needs be subject, not only for wrath, but also for conscience sake, right? So it's basically going on, Paul saying, hey, there's nothing wrong with doing the good thing. Hey, this land wants you to pay taxes, man, pay your taxes, right? Just like Christ said, render unto Caesar that which is Caesar, and render unto the Most High which is his. You know what I'm saying? There's nothing wrong with paying your taxes. There's nothing wrong with wearing your seatbelt when you drive. There's nothing wrong with not texting and driving. Why? Because, again, you'll save yourself from terrors, right? You'll save yourself from evil. And 9 times out of 10, when you think about it, right, the only opportunity that, I guess not the only opportunity, right, but the greatest opportunity that you can get from the powers that be is to execute righteousness, regardless of the outcome, right? Execute the righteousness, because, again, they're ministers unto good works for you. But that's what all of this reminds me of, man. Having that integrity. Pecan.
Okay. Next precept and testimony we got is the prophets of Baal versus the prophet Elijah. Denal got this one. This will be coming out of 1 Kings chapter 18, verses 19 through 40.
Through what? Through 40? Hey, what was the brother? Hey, this brother Obadiah, man. Hey, man.
The last one was 20 precepts long too that I read. All praises. The chat, man. It's 1 Kings. What chapter is this?
I was lucky I put it in.
I just wanted to read the title, bro.
Yeah, I put it in the chat.
Oh, it's 1 Kings 18, starting at verse 19. It says, Therefore, send and gather to me all Israel unto Mount Carmel, Carmel, and the prophets of Baal 450, and the prophets of the groves 400, which eat at Jezebel's table. So Ahab sent unto all the children of Israel and gathered the prophets together unto Mount Carmel. And Elijah came unto all the people and said, how long halt ye between two opinions? If the Lord be God, follow him, but if Baal, then follow him. And the people answered him not a word. Then said Elijah unto the people, I, even I only, remain a prophet of the Lord, but Baal's prophets are 450 men. Let them therefore give us 2 bullocks, and let them choose 1 bullock for themselves, and cut it in pieces, and lay it on wood, and put no fire under. And I will dress the other bullock, and lay it on wood, and put no fire under. And call ye on the name of your gods, and I will call on the name of the Lord. And the God that answereth by fire, let him be God. And all the people answered and said, It is well spoken. And Elijah said unto the prophet of Baal, Choose you 1 bullock for yourselves, and dress it first, for ye are many, and call on the name of your gods, but put no fire under. And they took the bullock which was given them, and they dressed it, and called on the name of Baal from morning until noon, saying, O Baal, hear us. But there was no voice, nor any that answered, and they leaped upon the altar which was made. So what's going on here, just to catch everybody up to speed, is he proposed them pretty much a challenge, right? And the challenge is, hey, it's over this over 50 of you guys that say that you're prophets of Baal, right? So I know a lot of you guys believe in this God, but I believe in the Most High God. In order to see which God is actually real, we're gonna put this to the test. So you get a bullock for yourself, and then give me a bullock, right? They're gonna be sacrifices to our gods, but we're not gonna light them. We're gonna have the gods light them, right? And so at this point, the prophets of Baal went first, right? And they've been, what did it say that they was doing? It said that they dressed it, they called upon the name of Baal from morning even until noon, right? Crying out to him, right? It says, but there was no voice, nor any that answered, and they leaped upon the altar which was made, right? They kind of getting mad. Verse 27. And it came to pass at noon that Elijah mocked them and said, Cry aloud, for he is a God. Either he is talking, or he is pursuing, or he is in a journey, or peradventure he sleepeth and must be wakened. So he's kind of mocking him, man, making a mockery of him, saying, hey man, where's your God at, man? Where's this guy that you, surely if 50 of you guys are calling yourselves prophets, he's gonna hear one of you guys. And then they cried aloud and cut themselves after their manner with knives and lancets, till the blood gushed out upon them. They went so far to the point where they're trying to get the attention of their God, till they start cutting themselves, so the Most High, well, not the Most High, Salakia, that their God would notice their anguish, right, and recognize what they're trying to do. Verse 29, and it came to pass when midday was past, and they prophesied until the time of the offering of the evening sacrifice, that there was neither a voice, nor any to answer, nor any that regarded. Verse 30, and Elijah said unto all the people, come near unto me. And all the people came near unto him, and he repaired the altar of the Lord that was broken down. And Elijah took 12 stones according to the number of the tribes of the sons of Jacob. Right, this is crazy, man. Right, ask your colloquial Christian why he would do this, to get an answer from the Most High God. Why would he get representations of the children of Israel, to get the attention of his God, right? Unto whom the word of the Lord came, saying, Israel shall be thy name. 32. And with the stones he built an altar in the name of the Lord, and he made a trench about the altar as great as would contain 2 measures of seed. Right, verse 33. And he put the wood in order, and cut the bullock in pieces, and laid him on the wood, and said, Fill 4 barrels with water, and pour it on the burnt sacrifice on the wood. He said, I'm gonna make this good. Not only am I gonna call on my Lord to set this on fire, but I'm gonna make it even harder. I'm gonna drench this meat in water, right? so that it's not dry and it's not so much flammable as it should be. 34, it says, and he said, do it the second time, not just once, but do it twice. And they did it the second time. And he said, do it a third time, right? And they did it a third time. So at this point, the water has this meat soaking wet, and the water ran about the altar, and he filled the trench also with water, so much so that the water was collecting in the trench. I don't know if you guys have ever tried to light anything wet on fire, or something that's in the midst of water on fire, but it doesn't really go too well. Verse 36, and it came to pass at that time of the offering of the evening sacrifice that Elijah the prophet came near and said, Lord God of Abraham, Isaac, and of Jacob, and of Israel, let it be known this day that thou art God in Israel, and that I am thy servant, and that I have done all these things at thy word. Verse 37, he says, hear me, O Lord, hear me, that this people may know that thou art the Lord God, and that thou hast turned their heart back again. Verse 38, the fire of the Lord fell and consumed them and burnt the sacrifice and the wood and the stones and the dust and licked up the water that was in the trench, right? And so we see that the fire consumed it, right? Even with all the water, right? Because I know the people was looking like, man, ain't no way his Lord finna do this. But that goes back to what we were saying, that, man, the Most High, he creates what? All of the elements, all of the creatures, right? And he can defy everything that he's created, right? He has the secrets to everything. He can make fire not burn you, like the three Hebrew boys. He can make water turn into lighter fluid, right? As we see right here. Verse 39, it says, and when all the people saw it, they fell on their faces and they said, the Lord, he is the God. The Lord, he is the God. Verse 40, and Elijah said unto them, take the prophets of Baal, let not one of them escape. And they took them, and Elijah brought them down to the brook Kishon and slew them there, because not one false prophet shall stand, right? Once we find out you're a fake, you gotta go. Once we find out you're a fake, you gotta go. It's kind of like for the Day of Atonement. If we find out that you're not afflicting your soul, if we find out that you're at work, you kind of gotta go. That's not what we say. That's thus saith the Lord. You know what I'm saying? We got to start taking this stuff seriously, right? If you're, and for them, they should count it a blessing that they get to die for Baal. Because if you believe in them so much, right, it shouldn't matter to you that you're getting persecuted for Baal, right? Because I know for us, we would be the same way, whether we live or we die for our God. If you gotta slay us, then slay us, right? If we got to get burned in that fiery furnace, we got to get burned in that fiery furnace, right? And so at the end of the day, man, the Most High's miracle was shown again. I would say many-fold right here, because not only does he does miracles, but he even does it to the impossible, to where it makes it seem like it's impossible to happen. We read a few things that seem impossible to happen in the world that we live in now, from the three Hebrew boys walking in the fiery furnace and coming out not even smelling like smoke, from being stuck in a dungeon with a lion, right? A hungry lion at that. You telling me it doesn't make no move on you, right? That's only God. From, what are the other ones? Other we went over what was the one after that?
It was multiple lions, actually, and then we went over Paul being trapped in prison and an earthquake happening and the earthquake setting.
All being trapped in prison, man. You know what I'm saying? A lot of people go to prison and they give up hope, man. After the first and second appeal is denied, I'm in here for the rest of my life then. You know what I'm saying? Even to this, to where he turned water into lighter fluid, so to speak, you know what I'm saying, and consumed the fire, right? So what mighty God that you serve. But I yield.
Come on, man. That's the end of the precepts of the brother's lesson, man. It's a mighty lesson, man, and some mighty precepts to go over to refresh us on the things that the Most High can do for us and for our nation. We got to be reminded of these things, man, because like the first precept that we read, Romans 15:4, hey, we got to reflect on it to give us hope, right? So it was a mighty lesson, mighty Day of Atonement. We went 2 hours, right?
We finna go 5 more, brother. Don't even clog off. Let's get it, right?
I need to find me a bunch of videos to react to, pass the time by. But or should we can just go over the Israelite community and just react to a bunch of stuff that was posted this past year and say a prayer for everybody, man.
Especially that.
Yeah, man. It's gotten crazy out here, man. But nonetheless, we pray for him, though. Right.
Hey, man. I also want to say too, man. Not only mighty lesson that the brother Obadiah put together through the Spirit, man. Also, like the brother Denal just said, man, we got to take it more seriously. Like I said earlier at the start of the lesson, man. Even myself this year, I feel a lot more. Well, I ain't gonna say I feel a lot more pleased because I don't want to look at it that way. I would say that through the Spirit, I did, double down a little bit more on praying more. You know what I'm saying? Making sure that I'm doing a lot more praying and meditating on the Word on this day in specific because again, it's not a day to be taken lightly. And at the end of the day, it's a day that the Lord gave us an opportunity to get forgiven for our transgressions and iniquity. So you can never take the opportunity too much to pray and ask the Lord for forgiveness for things that you may have done ignorantly, right? So all praises for that, and just getting on. And all praises for those who's tuned in and stayed this 2 hours and 16 minutes that we've been on live. We've gone longer before, but we can also go even longer. But at the end of the day, hey, I'm just grateful for the opportunity to get on before the people, and break down the Word of God, present our bodies as a living sacrifice.
Come, man. Come. So I guess if there's nothing else, man, we'll wrap this up, finish out the Day of Atonement, mighty. And it looks like we got a little under 4 hours.
3 hours, 25 minutes, who's counting?
Come, man. Who's counting? The brother Denal's phone is counting. So nonetheless, we say shalom, man. The brothers of the hopeful elect. If you're not scattering, if you're not gathering, you're scattering.
All praise to the Most High. Shalom.
Shalom. Till next time.
Shalom.